Oh boy, another week and it's the same story for the Eagles, featuring an anemic offense combined with what was probably the worst performance of Jalen Hurts' career. And yeah, it was really, really bad, but the suggestions for how to fix it are taking it too far. In this video, I'll go over the horrifying showing from Philly while highlighting a couple aspects that actually worked unbelievably well. It's just that the Birds quit doing it. Of course, there were also a few other small victories like unlocking a portion of the running game and the defense proving it's still championship caliber. Meanwhile, the Eagles look to be getting Lane Johnson back, yet is it too little too late? Let's talk about that and everything else from week 14, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? The Chargers game, I don't know. Tried to wrestle with this one, put words together, and I'm still kind of at a loss. This is basically who this team is so far at this point in the season. Because if we're honest, this is the team we've seen for quite a while, but even more so the last half month or so. And it feels way longer than that for how the Birds have played. Still, just 15 days ago, Philly was 8-2 and up 21-0 on the Cowboys. And now, fast forward 15 days, they've managed to get themselves into this mess of 8-5. Which, okay, if you want a tiny bit of optimism, fortunately the Bucs lost to the Saints, meaning the Eagles are very likely going to be locked into the third seed. That is assuming they can win the NFC East. But the bigger question is, even if they get into the playoffs, what are we really expecting from this squad? Especially after Nick Sirianni was reportedly getting more involved in taking over some responsibilities of the offense ahead of the Chargers game. And while I'm a sucker to keep praying and hoping that the Eagles see the light or saw the light, on Monday night, it was nothing of the sort. Jalen Hurts had 5 turnovers, A.J. Brown 3 big drops, the O-line several costly penalties, Jake Elliott a missed 48-yard field goal, and the play calling was, once again, inexcusable. Look, I don't know what Sirianni taking the reins was supposed to do, but the offense entered Monday Night Football with the most inefficient unit in Sirianni's tenure, and then proceeded to perform even worse than in their previous 2 losses.
Hey, hold my beer.
That one stinks. I think at the end of the day, we had some turnovers in this game, uncharacteristic of ourselves. And, at the end, every time it's going to come down to coaching well enough and executing well enough. I thought the defense did a lot of good things. I thought the offense moved the ball on a really good defense, but, we didn't finish. Kicked a lot of field goals and had some turnovers. So, hard to beat a team on the road when you're not finishing drives and getting 3 points, and I got to take that on myself.
To lose a game when the defense got you 7 sacks and 2 takeaways is just flat out embarrassing. I mean, I know Sirianni preaches the importance of not turning the ball over, but there's no argument. Watching what we did Monday night, the players seem to be pressing and compounding mistakes. So yeah, while Sirianni and the players keep refuting the 2023 similarities, it's starting to get pretty undeniable.
I don't want to know anything anymore. This is a world where nothing is solved. When someone once told me time is a flat circle. Everything we've ever done or will do, we're going to do over and over and over again.
God help us, if the Raiders game turns out to be the 2023 Cardinals, I don't know. And ironically, the Eagles are favored by 11.5 points over Vegas, which at first glance you might think, cool, surely we can't lose with that kind of spread. However, some quick fact checking for you, and you realize that in 23, the Cardinals were also 11.5 point underdogs.
Terrifying, right?
To be fair, this season is the reverse of 2023 in just the sense of sides of the ball because the defense has been unreal most weeks. Yet for the Eagles' offense in the past 5 weeks, they're scoring touchdowns on 13.6% of their drives. FYI, the only teams worse are the Jets and the Raiders. Plus, as we've witnessed, the Birds haven't exceeded 21 points in 5 consecutive games. With Zach Byrne pointing out that's the longest stretch of the Nick Sirianni era. In fact, it's Philly's fewest in any 5-game span since early 2012, which was Andy Reid's final season. I mean, just look at the Eagles' last 5 point totals. 10, 16, 21, 15, 19. That's 81 points in 5 games. With the Birds now having the 3rd most turnovers in the league during that period. Oh, and for all the impressive red zone efficiency earlier in the season, that's now gone too because over the last several weeks, the Eagles have been converting at a 46% clip. It's literally the complete opposite of 2024. In the sense of they had the bye week this year only to lose all offensive momentum and get even further away from any kind of identity. Sorry, I know that's a lot of negativity, but trying my best to keep it real somewhat. However, for those starving for some optimism, shout out to Anthony DeBona that the Eagles could play against Marcus Mariota and Kenny Pickett in 3 of their final 4 games. They at least outgained the Chargers by 90 total yards, and they're still in first place in the NFC East. Oh, not to mention, Saquon Barkley averaged 6.1 yards per carry on Monday night, which might be the biggest positive of anything. The Eagles' defense recorded the 7 sacks, like I shared, and Lane Johnson should return this week to play against the Raiders. Since according to multiple reports, Lane has been progressing well with his injury and feels good about getting back out there this week. Personally, and I've said this on the last couple of videos, but it feels a little bit quick to get him back out there, especially with the Lisfranc injury. At the same time, the Eagles are 0-3 without Lane Johnson this year, so I can understand the rush to get him back. Although I also get the majority of responses pertaining to any optimistic outlook for this squad.
We are laughing.
Offensively, the Eagles are a laughingstock. They are one of the most expensive units, if not the most, but near the very top. Offensive units, most expensive, and they're with the Raiders and Titans in just about every offensive category. I mean, thank God for Vic Fangio, because it shows you what great coaching can do versus guys who don't put their players in positions to make plays. By the way, I said on the game preview, just wait, this will be the game where the pass rush breaks out because LA has had issues all year. But Justin Herbert being pressured on 68% of his dropbacks despite only getting blitzed 12% of the time and getting sacked 7 times should have been an automatic win. But yet every time the Eagles got a little bit of momentum, the offense pissed it away. Get a great drive from the offense and then a red zone pick, late half interception on Herbert, but then turned into a missed field goal, a touchdown, defensive stop, good punt return, and then the drop from AJ that turned into an interception. The defense kept answering the call, but when you take into account the offensive playmakers, the guys that the Eagles have on that side of the ball, this is the worst offense in the NFL. And Monday's performance allowed Justin Herbert to become the only quarterback in the Super Bowl era to complete under 50% of his passes, throw for under 150 yards, get sacked 7+ times, have multiple turnovers, and yet still win the game.
Bye-bye, Easter Bunny.
It did feel like the last remaining shreds of positivity got killed by that performance last night, as the Chargers went on an epic troll job to celebrate beating the Eagles in prime time.
This is definitely, maybe the best feeling, just a wonderful feeling of winning and thrill of victory. It's certainly in the discussion. I put it in the discussion, the birth of my 7 children, my marriage, in the conversation.
I don't know what to say. But, by the way, Jalen Hurts did make history on Monday night, becoming the first quarterback in NFL history to turn the ball over twice in one play. Yeah, Jaelan threw an interception and then fumbled the ball later on that exact same play. But let me ask you a serious question. After what you just saw, coming away from it, several hours away from it, obviously takes a little bit of emotion out of it, but what you just saw, do you have any faith that this team can turn things around? Like, is there anything that you are holding on to? And also, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there because of how many comments I've started to see since the game, but do the Eagles have a quarterback problem? Now, I have no problem admitting QB1 was awful on Monday night. In fact, it was probably his worst performance of his career. And sorry, but you're kidding yourself if you don't put that final play squarely on Jaelan for turning it over. Granted, yes, there's a lot of other elements in the game that happened well before coming to that final play, yet while Patullo and Sirianni elected to go all 11 personnel with some empty and spread looks on their opening possession, there were still tons of basic static routes, aka routes that are designed for anticipation throws when you have a quarterback who is no doubt not trusting the offense and not throwing with anticipation right now. So with Tanner McKee waiting in the wings, there are some out there who wonder if Jaelan needs to be benched.
I don't want you to say it.
Stop it. Jaelan is not going to be benched. I'm a huge Tanner McKee fan. I think he's really good. It's great to have him as QB2, but the Eagles are not going to bench a Super Bowl MVP at quarterback. Now, I'll give it to you that if Hurts continues to struggle the way he has, then this team isn't going to even reach the playoffs, let alone win a game in the playoffs. And yes, I'm also in agreement that QB1 has been well below average 4 of the last 5 games. Heck, look at the numbers, and Hurts has been in the bottom third in completion rate, yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, interceptions, and passer rating since the bye week. However, to say Jaelan definitively isn't the answer at quarterback is an overreaction of emotions. First off, just the morale killer and message that would send to the locker room would be bad enough. Moving away from your Super Bowl MVP 10 months since he won the big one. Also, we've seen Hurts play incredibly well in the right offense with the right offensive coordinator. So if Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are making a move, it would be canning the play caller. Because go ahead, look around the league and then tell me how little an OC makes a difference in a quarterback's play. What, Sam Darnold is now a top 5 quarterback based on rating after bouncing around to various teams just magically? Or you're telling me Mac Jones is a top 10 quarterback? After all, he does currently rank 10th in QBR this season. How about Caleb Williams? I mean, his rookie season was really bad. And sure, he hasn't been an upper echelon quarterback this year, yet in one season, the change that Ben Johnson has made with that Chicago offense is crazy impressive. Although the best case in point here is probably Daniel Jones, because we all saw who and what Danny Dimes was in New York. But put him in the right system with Shane Steichen, and the dude turned into Indiana Jones. FYI, he was number 8 in the NFL for QBR and looking like a completely different quarterback. Hear me out though, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts isn't flawed. Every quarterback is. What I'm saying is good play callers know how to hide weaknesses and maximize the strengths of their offense. So before you go sitting down QB1, the change to make is an offensive coordinator. Unfortunately though, while Indianapolis is at least acting to try and save their season, the Eagles don't appear ready to demote Kevin Patullo. I mean, I don't know that bringing in Philip Rivers, who hasn't played since 2020, is the right idea for the Colts, but like I say, at least they're trying something. Anyway, we can agree to disagree on this, but long term, I think that Jalen's going to be fine. He's had stretches where he's played really poorly, and he has figured out ways to get himself out of the funk.
I got Jalen Hurts in my quarterback. I have all the confidence that we're going to win that football game. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's just the truth. And I know if it's a 4-minute situation, he has all the confidence that me and the offensive line is going to find a way to end the game. And sometimes it just doesn't work, but this doesn't change anything. If anything, it's just continue to make us closer, and it's going to make us closer. And it doesn't make sense right now, but we know what the end goal is. We know what we want to accomplish, and we got a long ways to go.
The team is still believing, which is saying something. But yeah, there's no excusing Jaelen having both Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown open on a play like this and failing to connect. Yet the worst and most impactful play was obviously the one that ended the game. It's first down, plenty of time, and pressure in your face with no leverage to throw the ball. Just throw it out of bounds. Throw it out of bounds and live to fight another day. Sadly, that did not happen, and it was squarely on Jaelen there. No denying that, leaving a lot of critics selling on QB1.
This guy sucks.
That's a play that we've made a million times in that scenario versus a cloud corner, and I didn't make that play this time around.
Honestly, especially the last play there, Hurts got too aggressive, and it really does look like he's starting to press. Like Johnny Page alluded to, it felt like Hurts was ultra-conservative, not making big-time throws and not turning the ball over early in the season, whereas now it seems like he's firing multiple tight window shots over the middle of the field and being overly aggressive. Again, despite playing badly, he made some big-time throws against the Chargers. It's just overall, he appears to be pushing way too hard. Granted, he's not the only one guilty of that this past week, because Week 14 was the first time ever that both starting quarterbacks from the previous season's Super Bowl had 0 touchdown passes and 3+ interceptions in the same week. Of course, for Mahomes, his performance against the Texans all but eliminated them from the playoffs, where his previous low passer rating had been a 44.4. However, on Sunday night, he set a new low with a 19. All right, fine. My biased feelings are showing through, and I'm not trying to excuse Jalen Hurts. I've said this many times on this episode here, but Hurts played poorly, really badly. His rating was a 31, but again, for comparison, Mahomes was a 19. Yet Ryan Clark's take of Patrick Mahomes' play the very next day was that he's, quote, underrated.
How exactly does that work?
For a guy that's won as many Super Bowls as Mahomes has, I don't know how you could say or even think that he's underrated. Anyway, getting off topic, so back to the Eagles. A.J. Brown could have also easily changed the game, with him mentioning the 3 plays he and all of us wish that he had back: the deep pass on the first play from scrimmage, the ball over the middle that resulted in an interception, and the perfect teardrop from Jalen Hurts in the end zone.
That won't hurt me. That won't hurt me. No, I'm more than capable of making those plays. Jalen trusts me in any situation. I made some plays, but I wasn't great when it mattered.
On the one over the middle, there was a guy bearing down on you. Did you sense that?
I was just gonna be another tough one. I'm more than capable to make that grab for him. Like Jalen he stepped up in the pocket. He under pressure. So like I said, I'm more than capable of making that one for him, man. That one hurt. But.
Look, I get that a couple of those plays are very difficult ones to make, but they're also the plays that A.J. Brown, we've seen him make, and in that instance there, a high-pressure game like that, he has to do it. The frustration, though, is the lack of focus and really poor effort on a couple blocks in the game. Come on, you miss a couple opportunities, that's one thing, but minimal effort on a play is something else. Which is why it's not exaggerating to say this is very much a slumping team right now, who surprisingly is still minus 1,100 to win the NFC East. Although realistically, who cares? If they keep doing what they've been doing, does it really matter? Like, explain to me how Saquon Barkley gets just 5 carries in the second half after a really strong first half of 13 carries for 69 yards. And it ain't like Hurts has been balling either. Now sure, a lot of Saquon's yards in the second half came from the fake tush push, but if there had been one shift in the ground game, they probably could have kept that success.
I'm the head coach, so my attention goes to places that I feel like it needs to go. This week was with the offense, and I'll continue to go in there with those guys and grind it out through the weeds with them and continue to move forward with that. I thought we moved the ball and did a lot of good things today, but again, we didn't finish.
All right, if we're speaking about changes that need to happen, we've been saying this for weeks, but the Eagles cannot keep living in shotgun. Because this actually holds up for the entire season, but the smaller sample size of just the Chargers game tells the exact same story. Shout out to Warren Sharp, but the Eagles offense ran 51 plays in the gun on Monday night, averaging 4.2 yards per play, 2.2 yards per rush, 5.2 yards per pass, and 4 interceptions. Meanwhile, the cheat code of going under center, which they only capitalized on for 15 plays, was averaging 10.2 yards per play, 8.8 yards per rush, and 16 yards per pass with no turnovers. So look, I don't care who's uncomfortable with whatever. This offense has got to be under center more often.
Yeah, we tried some new stuff, and some things worked, some things didn't, and we just got to be more consistent with things that are working, make things work and run and go from there. We can't end up being, one-dimensional.
It's about the same stuff every week. Of course, I loved finally seeing the big play touchdown from Saquon. Yet the offensive line did continue to get worked on several plays during the game, which on one hand, the fellas have just significantly regressed, although the other argument is how about trying to snap it with more than a second on the play clock? I mean, no wonder pressure rates have skyrocketed and Saquon doesn't have anywhere to go once he gets the ball. It's like if I'm a defensive lineman, I literally just sit there and watch the play clock and go, okay, as soon as it hits 0, I'm going to just take off because there's nothing that can happen. A delay of game is going to be worst case scenario. More than likely, the Eagles are going to snap it. And you saw that I could count at least 5 times on Monday night where that was the case. But anyway, I mentioned this or asked this earlier in the video. Is there a silver lining? Is there anything that you're holding out hope for? And I guess if there's one thing that we could say from this game that we've kind of known all season, it's the fact that the defense proved once again they are still championship caliber. Kudos to them, man. The Eagles defense held the Chargers to 275 yards, 16 first downs, and 106 net passing yards, showing once again that they are able to make adjustments on the fly after giving up a touchdown on the Chargers' opening drive. Because after that first one, you realize they defended 12 consecutive drives without allowing a touchdown, while also forcing Justin Herbert to a career-low 46% accuracy. Again, you look at the quarterbacks Fangio's unit has played against this season, and nobody's going to carve up this defense through the air. The issue and concern, though, is the burden that Philly's offense continues to put on the defense. For those counting, the Eagles' defense has played 74, 87, and 74 snaps the past 3 weeks, which is about 55 snaps over the league average. The insane part is that they've still been well inside a top 10 defense while doing it. But at some point, all those snaps are going to pay a price, as we've seen with the Giants and the Bears on a short week. Fortunately, yes, Jalen Carter should be back this week or maybe next, but the big positives are that Jordan Davis was a beast against LA. I mean, JD's been insane versus the run, but what he did rushing Herbert was next level. He finished the game with 6 pressures, a career high, 5 tackles, 4 hurries, 2 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks. Meanwhile, Jalyx Hunt may have also played the best game of his career. 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 8 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 forced fumble. Basically, everybody on the defense showed up. Heck, Marcus Epps was so much better than Sidney Brown, and the starting secondary only allowed 5 completions on 13 targets for 35 yards, with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean combining to not allow a single catch. Of course, Nakobe Dean made a mistake early in coverage versus Kamani Vidal, but made up for it throughout the game with his blitzes and stops against the run. I'd also say props to Britton Covey on special team for a few plays, although he did fumble, but at least didn't lose it. And then ultimately, there were some other points lost in the kicking game with Jake Elliott missing a 48-yard field goal, meaning Elliott has now missed 6 field goals and a PAT this year. Now, he's nowhere close to the Eagles' biggest issue, but he is becoming more of an issue. Come on, he's the second highest paid kicker in the NFL, yet he currently ranks 31st in the league this season. But no changes there, and really no changes anywhere still.
Yeah, we'll stay the course. We'll just keep grinding it out and get ourselves out of this little hole that we're in.
We'll see. I said it before the game last week. I said they need to prove it to us. Wasn't totally buying into it. They still have not yet. The Raiders at home, it should be a get-right game. But it's not even like you have to win. They need to win that and then blow them out. I mean, I'll have more coverage on that anyway, but the magic number is still 3. After the loss there, 3 games won or lost. Dallas losses also count. There's 8 games remaining. You take the Eagles' schedule and Dallas. Out of those 8 games, the Eagles need to win 3 of them or a combination of Dallas losing 3 to be able to win the NFC East. The good news is that as bad as the Birds' offense has been, the Raiders have scored fewer touchdowns over the past 5 weeks. So maybe that gives the Eagles a chance to win. Call me crazy. I still think this is a playoff team. I don't know if it's as much about who they are versus who they're playing, but I think they can make the playoffs, and I think they can finish the season 11-6. Again, the remaining games look like they could be against backup quarterbacks, so I'm not sure how much that's actually going to help, though, in terms of the squad building momentum for the playoffs. But as we said every week for the last several, if we don't get significant change quickly, and it doesn't seem like we're going to, the Eagles' most realistic outcome is one and done in the postseason. Again, that's if they even make it there, but you guys let me know your takeaways. The good, the bad, the ugly. We're now at 8-5. I know there's not a whole lot, but anything positive, we will absolutely take it. Trying to be optimistic. It's a championship caliber defense. We say that. Defense wins championships if you have an average offense, but they're near the very bottom, and it's totally ridiculous. But we'll see. Got more videos, everything else. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe. More giveaways. Not able to do the ticket giveaway because the Eagles can't win a dang game, but we'll figure out something if we have to do it a different way. Surely this week. I'll see you in the next one. This has been the Philly Special.
Feel like I should go.